y'all, Maisha here and welcome back to my library. Today we'll be briefly talking about all the books I've read this year so far. Well, so far I've read 8 books, but I'm only going to be speaking about the 6 published books that I've read because I spent majority of the year reading an ungodly amount of manga and Naruto fanfiction. And also because I keep starting books and losing interest halfway through, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, mild spoiler warnings for all of these books. Because I'll say I'm not going to give a spoiler and then I will spoil the book. So mild spoiler warnings ahead. Okay, so let's just jump in because out of the 6 books, 3 were 1-star reviews. Okay, so the first book I read this year, it was The Prince and the Troll by Rainbow Rowell. It's a short story, 29 pages only, and it is probably one of the worst things I have consumed in a long time. So I give it 1 star. It's a part of this short story collection. Each book is by a different author, and I wanted to read the entire series, but this one book pissed me off so badly that I decided I wasn't gonna read any of the others, because if this slop, no offense, but if this trash was allowed to exist in this series, mind you, it's the first book, I did not want to see what the rest of the books were about. The story made no sense at all, and it was honestly given one big Starbucks advertisement, and as someone who has never been to Starbucks, it made me never want to go to one. And there was this obsession with the road. It made no sense. Although I think the prince, he wasn't actually a prince, but the prince and the troll end up together. Anyway, the second book I read this year was Sisters Insanity by Gail Forman. This book, I gave it 3 stars, and it deserved each of these stars. So we have our 16-year-old main character, Britt, and she's told by her father that they would be going on a family vacation to the Grand Canyon. He and Britt would drive and her stepmom would fly with the baby. Obviously, he was a liar and we were never ever going to the Grand Canyon in the first place. Instead, he takes Britt, bright, free, and kind Britt, and dumps her at Red Rock, a treatment center for rebellious girls. They're not actually rebellious girls. Anyway, the most rebellious thing about Britt is that she's in a band and has pink streaks in her hair. Britt hates the place as she should, and if I'm being honest, they spend the time there torturing that poor girl, and the other residents get slowly brainwashed. Britt eventually meets a group of girls who make her stay at Red Rock a bit easier, and eventually this group of superheroes save everyone. Oh, and there's this boy that Britt likes, and she eventually gets her kiss. Anyway, so yeah, they essentially take down Red Rock, get it shut down, everybody gets sent home, it makes big news, and yeah, they get there happily ever after. I love the way this book was written, and there were instances where I had to stop reading because I was terrified they were going to get caught with all of their shenanigans, and I didn't want to know if they got caught because they didn't deserve the things that were happening to them. They literally pulled Britt into therapy sessions. I don't think the woman was even certified. They'd pull her into these therapy sessions and then torment her about her mother, who I think had a schizophrenic break, and then she ran off. So yeah, it was very well written, but I spent the majority of this book pissed at all of the adults in these girls' lives. Okay, so then there was I Fell in Love with Hope by Lankali. I gave this one 4 stars, and I have an entire video about this, but this book frustrated me. So we follow the story of these sick kids in a hospital, all from the perspective of an omniscient narrator, Sam. I spent the majority of this book trying to convince my family that Sam was a ghost and not an actual kid in the hospital. I guess I was wrong because Sam was, if I remember correctly, not a ghost, but the physical embodiment of hope. And all the characters I liked in this book died, and the one I didn't care about survived. So I didn't really like the book because of that, but like I expected a lot of the characters to die. And in a way, I guess it makes sense that Hickory, the one character I didn't like, would survive considering that Sam died without ever really living. Not Narita Sam, but the original Sam who gave our Narita Sam his name. Yeah, so according to my Goodreads review, I hate this book with a burning passion. Then Always a Bridesmaid, absolute trash. I have nothing to say about this book because I cannot remember this book at all. of this book, I deleted it from my library. It was a complete waste of time, and I can't even be an informed hater because I cannot remember a single thing about this book of importance. Okay, so The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, I rated 3 stars. I really did enjoy this book. It felt like a nice little palate cleanser after reading things that pissed me off. So the main character, Lily, runs away from her abusive father after he tells her that her dead mother had left her, and the day she died, she had come back to get her things. So Lily, believing her mother would do no such thing, breaks her black housekeeper Rosaline out of jail and runs away to Tiburon, South Carolina on a mission to find who her mother was, and her naivety shines through all her interactions. She travels based on an image of a black Madonna, bees, and a dream. Obviously, it works out for her because little white girls always get their happy endings in these types of stories. Yes, and there is actually a movie adaptation of this book. I think Queen Latifah is in it. So yeah, really, mostly everyone gets their happy ending in this story. Something that hurt the most was Lily realizing that the pedestal she had placed her mother on in her mind had been slowly breaking down without her even noticing it, because her father had been right. She did leave Lily, and that day she did come back for her things, Lily being one of them. I cried. Like, genuinely, I cried. Last and certainly least, we have the latest book I've completed. Well, that's not true. I've read 2 other books after this, and I'm currently reading the third. But in this list here, the last book I read, if you've been paying attention, you would realize that this is the final 1-star book. And boy, do I hate this book. I don't think I've ever hated a book like I've hated this book. The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. This masquerades as a book that knows what it is talking about. These group of men who are so obsessed with these 5 sisters who lived in their neighborhood when they were younger that years after their deaths, they tried to piece together the reasons the 5 girls made the choices that they did. Now, obviously, these boys never actually knew these girls, and they will never know them. I have ranted about this book to everyone who will listen. The book was not about the 5 Lisbon sisters, like I was made to believe by the liars on the internet. Looking past the fact that I felt like I spent the majority of the book waiting for the story to begin, I knew the Lisbon sisters as well as these boys did, meaning, not at all. In a rant to a friend, I stated, and I quote, "I just finished reading The Virgin Suicides, and God does this book suck. I don't know why I thought this book would be about the sisters who lost their lives. I was such a fool. Instead, we get a book about a group of boys who loved these girls so much and how it affected them. Mind you, these boys didn't actually know these girls. It's legit the predecessor of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, except these girls wanted no part in their fantasy." Now I understand the book. I still hate it. These boys were disgusting. These men were disgusting. And I often cringed hearing them speak about these girls. Again, I got the point of the book. It wasn't some masterpiece. Heck, the community where this book is so popular, and they know themselves. They should really go ahead and evaluate and realize that they don't understand this book at all. The 1 star was for the existence of these girls and the fact that even in death, they would never be known by people who were too greedy to know them. When the last set of the sisters died, the way they died was so heartbreaking. Mind you, these boys who were in love with them were in the house with them when they died. But they were so obsessed with a fantasy of these girls that they had created in their minds. They were so obsessed with that fantasy that they were not looking at reality and realizing what was going on around them. But anyway, these are the books I've read so far. I have a lot more things to say about The Virgin Suicides, but for my peace of mind, I cut it here, right here. Ta-ta.